A ghost on the battlefield. Picture a dusty road in some hot, remote country. The air is shimmering with heat, and the only sound is the occasional cry of a bird. Then suddenly a loud, rapid, bone-rattling BRRT. It's a sound you can't mistake. It's a sound heard by Soviet soldiers in Afghanistan, Syrian fighters in ruined cities, and African militias in the savannah. It's the voice of the Zhushka. She's 60 years old. She's older than most of the crews who operate her. She was born in an era when computers took up entire rooms and drones were pure science fiction. Yet, this senior citizen is still a fearsome weapon that gives nightmares to helicopter pilots and commanders of modern armored vehicles. How is that possible? Why has a creation from mid-20th century engineers outlived its own country, undergone 1,000 upgrades, and remains in high demand? This isn't just a story about steel and gunpowder. It's a story about brilliant simplicity. It's about how one successful project can become timeless. Today, we're going to trace its entire journey, from the blueprints in secret Soviet design bureaus to the hot sands of modern conflicts. Buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. Part 1. Birth of a Legend. The Cold War and Nerves of Steel. The early 1960s. The world is balanced on the brink of nuclear war. In the skies, a constant duel between spy planes like the U-2 and surface-to-air missiles. The Soviet Union realizes it needs a new, mass-produced, cheap, and reliable shield against low-flying threats. Attack planes and fighter bombers are the main danger to their advancing tank armies. Missiles are expensive and complex. They need a classic weapon, perfected to its absolute peak. And onto the stage walks the ZU-23, the 23mm anti-aircraft gun, model 1960. The troops would affectionately call it the Zhushka, like a spirited young girl. But behind that nickname was cold, steel logic. Now, let's take a quick economics detour. I've done some digging, and here's what I found. The USSR's economy back then was state-planned and militarized. The main principle was efficiency and mass production. The designers at the secret Central Design Bureau No. 14, now the famous Instrument Design Bureau in Tula, were given a task: create a weapon that must be produced by the thousands in existing factories, be serviced by conscripts with a high school education, work in any condition, from Arctic frost to sandstorms, cost a fraction of the price of surface-to-air missile systems. And they succeeded brilliantly. The cost of a single ZU-23 was pocket change compared to the cost of an enemy plane it could shoot down. This was perfect military economics, an inexpensive consumable capable of destroying the enemy's high-value assets. To draw a modern parallel, it's like creating a simple, cheap kamikaze drone that can take out a multi-million-dollar air defense system. The cost-to-result ratio was the key to the Zhushka's longevity. Part 2. The Zhushka's technical heart. Genius in simplicity. Let's look under the hood. What's so special about this thing? 22A14 autocannons, each weighing about 170 pounds. Not 100-ton monsters, but relatively portable barrels. The barrel length is over 15 feet. This wasn't by accident. This length-to-caliber ratio gave the projectile a monstrous muzzle velocity, over 3,100 feet per second. For comparison, a bullet from an M16 rifle travels at about 3,200 feet per second. This shell was flying just as fast, hitting harder, and going farther. A rate of fire of 2,000 rounds per minute. Wrap your head around that. That's over 30 rounds per second from both barrels combined. They don't fire single shots, they spew lead. The shells come out so fast that at a distance, they create a solid, impenetrable curtain of steel and fire. A pilot of a low-flying plane or helicopter entering its engagement zone wouldn't see individual explosions, but a solid wall of death. It's not a sniper rifle. It's the artillery version of blasting a room with a shotgun. The whole system weighs about 2,100 pounds. This is the genius part. Why? Because it could be quickly moved on a standard army truck, like a GAZ-66 or ZIL-131. Or it could be manhandled into a new position by its crew. Mobility is life in modern warfare. While the enemy was calculating the coordinates of your firing position, the Zhushka could unleash a burst and already be moving, firing arcs from -10 degrees to +90 degrees. This means it could fire almost straight up at a plane on a strafing run, and then, by lowering its barrels, instantly become a terrifying anti-personnel weapon or even a tank killer against light armor. Its ability to traverse a full 360 degrees made it an all-seeing guardian. A crew of just five. 5 guys could bring this steel beast to life. They aimed, loaded, and serviced it. The simplicity of operation was phenomenal. You didn't need a college degree. You needed strong arms, common sense, and training. Personal take. Studying these specs, one thought kept hitting me. The Soviet engineers didn't create the most powerful weapon in the world. They created a powerful enough weapon that could be produced and used in unlimited quantities. It's the philosophy of the AK-47, but applied to anti-aircraft guns. That's the real genius here, understanding that wars aren't won by superweapons, but by the right weapons produced on a massive scale. Part 3. The Universal Soldier. From the sky to the ground. The Zhushka was originally meant for shooting at air targets, but it didn't take long for soldiers to discover its true potential. The weapon started living its own life. Afghanistan, the 1980s. Mountain passes, Mi-24 Hind, helicopters, and supply convoys. Here, the Zhushka became king. They were placed on high ground to cover columns, and soon were mounted on trucks, creating mobile firing points. Firing at mujahideen hiding in compound walls or on mountain slopes, a burst from the ZU-23 was more terrifying than any mortar attack. The high-explosive incendiary tracer, HEIT, shell would explode, showering everything with lethal shrapnel. The armor-piercing incendiary tracer, APIT, could punch through a mud brick wall and take out everyone inside. But the real shock came when it started taking out armored vehicles. Think about it. A system designed to hit planes turned out to be capable of lighting up tanks. Not modern M1 Abrams or Leopards from the front, of course, but their sides, rear, and any light armored vehicle were fair game. A shell weighing almost half a pound, flying at nearly Mach 3, carries a devastating amount of kinetic energy. A perfect example is the conflict in Nigeria around 2015 to 2018. Local militants, without access to modern anti-tank missiles, got creative. They mounted captured or illicitly acquired ZU-23s on standard Toyota pickups. The result was a technical of unbelievable power. Springing from ambushes, these improvised fighting vehicles would shred government armored personnel carriers and patrol cars from over a mile and a half away. This was the peak of versatility. A cheap pickup plus a cheap but deadly weapon equals victory over an expensive military vehicle. Personal take. I think it's this capacity for improvisation that made the Zhushka so popular in low-intensity conflicts worldwide. It became a weapon for the underdog. Guerrillas, rebels, irregular forces, they all saw in the Zhushka a tool that leveled the playing field. It doesn't need to be plugged into the grid. It doesn't require complex software that can glitch. You feed it ammo, and it works. Part 4. The Zhushka World Tour. How a Soviet weapon conquered the planet. Production of a ZU-23 was truly massive. From 1957 to 1993, roughly 29,500 units rolled off the assembly lines. But the story didn't end there. The USSR generously shared its technology with allies. An economic note on its spread. After the USSR collapsed, huge stockpiles of ZU-23s ended up in the territories of new independent states. Many of them, strapped for cash and unable to maintain such large armies, started selling off or even giving away old Soviet gear. This created a flood of Zhushkas on the global arms market. Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Bulgaria got licenses and started their own production. Egypt and Iran also set up production lines, recognizing the system's reliability and low cost. China, true to form, went its own way, creating a copy called the Type 80 and later its own modification in 25mm caliber. Today, according to the authoritative The Military Balance, the ZU ZU-23 is in the arsenal of over 40 countries. The numbers are staggering. Greece, over 500 units, many inherited from the former East German Army. Venezuela, around 200. Iran, over 300, plus its own domestic production. Even in Europe, countries like Finland and Poland still keep them in stock, modernizing them for contemporary needs. All across Africa, from Nigeria to Mozambique and Sudan, Zuzkas guard borders and are used in endless internal conflicts. This weapon has become truly global, a kind of universal soldier that speaks one language, the language of fire and steel. Part 5, A Second Life. Modernizations that prove old is a state of mind. The most amazing part of the Zuzka's story is its ability to evolve. It wasn't scrapped. It was improved, adapted to the challenges of the 21st century. ZU-23 im Samum. Imagine a speedboat on wheels. That's the Samum, a highly mobile artillery unit based on the ZU-23, mounted on a light vehicle. Speed, maneuverability, and firepower. Perfect for special forces. Poland, ZU-23 bis 2 SJ. This is no mere anti-aircraft gun. The Poles integrated it with Grom man-pads, their version of the Stinger. Now the system can engage not just low-flying planes, but also helicopters with powerful countermeasures at greater ranges. Their naval version, the Vrobel, protects ships from missiles. Russia, the Strelets system, the most formidable upgrade. 2 to 4 launchers for Igla or Verba man-pads are attached to the classic ZU-23. A 5-person crew becomes a universal team, capable of fending off helicopters, ground attack aircraft, and drones. Analysis from open sources. Why are these upgrades so effective? It's simple. The platform, the ZU-23 itself, is proven, reliable, and cheap. The new brains, the guidance systems, sights, missiles, make it lethal in modern combat. Economically, it's a smarter move than developing a whole new system from scratch. Why reinvent the wheel when you can just drop a new engine into a classic, reliable chassis? The Eternal Warrior. Why the Zuzka is forever. 60 years have passed. We're in the era of cyber warfare, laser weapons, and artificial intelligence. And yet, somewhere in Syria or another global hotspot, you can still hear the familiar bureaucracy of the Zuzka. Why? The answer lies in its philosophy. Simplicity is reliability. Fewer parts mean fewer things that can break. It doesn't fear sand, water, frost, or salt spray. Cost equals Massachusetts. Even the poorest armies and militias can afford it. Versatility is life. One weapon for a dozen different jobs. When you can't carry a whole arsenal with you, the Zuzka becomes a lifesaver. Psychological impact. The sound of its fire, ripping through the air, terrifies the enemy and boosts the confidence of its own side. In a world where tech becomes obsolete in 5 to 10 years, the 60-year-old Zuzka reminds us of a simple, powerful truth. Sometimes the best tool isn't the newest or the most high-tech, but the most proven, reliable, and hardworking one. It just works. Every time, it has become a symbol of its era, just like the AK-47. But if the AK is the weapon of the infantryman, the Zuzka is the weapon of the army, the people, the resistance. It's the iron spirit of engineering, a spirit that neither time nor political storms could break. And that's the story of the little gun that could, the mighty Zuzka. So I gotta ask you, what's your take? Do you agree that simplicity and reliability can beat high-tech complexity? Where else do you see this principle of timeless genius at work in tech and tools in life? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective is what makes this community great. And of course, if this story grabbed you, if you learned something new and enjoyed the ride, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We got plenty more tales about legendary weapons, secret ops, and epic battles coming your way. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Share it with your buddies. Let's get a conversation going. Talk soon.